This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
दोस्तों नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल, वड़क्कम, वेलकम. आप सभी का भारत एफएम के इस कार्यक्रम में जिसका कि नाम है रूबरू, तहे दिल से स्वागत है. मैं हूं आपका दोस्त और आपका होस्ट आरजे आशीष, और आज हम जिनसे रूबरू हो रहे हैं उनका नाम है आस्था गुलाटी. नाउ लेट मी टेल यू अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट आस्था. Astha Gulati is a choreographer, facilitator, and healer. She is an entrepreneur to two unique ventures, Dhuri and Connect with Ru. With over 14 years of experience in different dance forms such as contemporary, Kathak, belly dance, Astha believes that dance is an expression of life. She also works with healing modalities such as radical healing, chakras, and hypnotherapy, where you work with the subconscious mind and heal physical and emotional issues. So with that, I would like to welcome Astha. Welcome, Astha.
Thank you so much, Ashish, for having me, and thank you everyone who's joined in. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us, Astha, and sharing your story with not just with us, but with all our audience who are online on Facebook and who are listening to us on the radio. So
Yes,
thank you very much.
I'm honored. I'm humbled and honored to be doing that, and I hope everyone who's listening is going to be interested and takes back something from this beautiful conversation that we are going to have now.
Perfect. So, so the way we do this show, Astha, is we start with your childhood days, and then we move on to your life journey accordingly. So, to start with, where was Astha born, and how was Astha's childhood?
Okay. Well, Astha is originally born in Delhi. I was born in New Delhi, but my first 10 years of my life, I've lived in Mumbai because my dad was posted in Mumbai. He used to work with ONGC at that time. Okay. So for my formative years, for my childhood years, I've actually grown up in Mumbai. I used to live in Goregaon. And then I moved to Delhi again for 3 years of my life when my dad got posted to Korea. Okay. And then again we moved to Bombay. And then again I moved to Delhi. Quite a match between Delhi, Bombay, till I finally, from Mumbai, I moved to Bangalore in 2013. And that's where I'm at currently, basically. So,
okay. Thank you very much for sharing that. So, as a kid in school, how were you as a kid? Like, what kind of kid you were? What were your dreams at that point in life? And is there anything in your memory lane that you can share with us that has stuck with you from your childhood days?
I think I was a very different child. I remember, like, when I was young, like very young, till about the age of actually not very young, till about the age of 10 or 11, I was someone who couldn't stop talking. Like, I would keep chatting. Like, my mom used to tell me, 2 minutes chup ho ja, main tujhe toffee dungi, and I would still not be able to get that toffee ever. I was such a talker. So yeah, and I was quite a like, I was one of those kids who would herself volunteer that, oh, fancy dress competition, okay, come, I will take part. Oh, this competition. So I was like a very, very outgoing child. And then I think what happens to most children during teenagers, you change a little. I think you some things come through in life, in school days, you get conscious. So I think that's when I started shifting into being the complete opposite. Then I became very quiet. I became a very shy, not shy, but a very quiet person overall. And dreams and aspirations also kept changing based on the personality type. I remember when I was really young, I wanted to be an air hostess. And then I wanted to be a model. And then I wanted to be like a scientist. So it was, I think I was someone who was always willing to experiment a lot of different things in life. But the one thing that always stayed with me, like irrespective of whether I was formally training or not, was the fact that I was dancing. I was always dancing. I was one of those few people who TV ke aage khade hoke, I would keep imitating the steps and dance alongside. And yeah, so that was always there. But I think when you ask me about my childhood, what strikes is that a lot of me changed. Like it would go, I flipped around the age of 12. I changed into something else. Then again, I kind of found myself by 20, 25 again, like the naughty Astha started coming back. So it was quite a ride, if I may say so.
So was there any specific incidents that was making you do that, or it was just random?
I mean, like how school may you have your friends and then you try to be cool, you try to fit in, but you actually are because I was always like in school, I was quite a geek. I was always like studying, and I was basically someone who would utilize my day fully. Like mujhe free time samajh nahi aata tha. So even back then, I'm still like that.
Everybody will wish to have a kid like you. I'm very serious. Every parent would like it.
Yeah, I think the only person who was very happy with me was my mama.
Exactly.
And my dad. Yeah, so I would I would study, and then I would also go out for movies. I would do my dance class, and I would, so I was someone who would be more focused than less focused. And usme, I think in school days, wo mazak ud jata tha, because you're a certain kind of person. So I think that caused me to be a little like quieter. Okay. In those days, but then I think now, fortunately or unfortunately, I think I own up to the fact that I am a geek, I am a workaholic, I work a lot. I've always been like that. So then why am I shirking away or running away from it? So I think now I'm fairly comfortable with that.
So now that you mentioned you're a geek, let me ask you this. Did at any point in your childhood occur to you that you would take dancing as a profession? Ever?
No. Never, actually, because I was always like into math. I was into commerce. I mean, even after my 12th class, I moved to Lady Shri Ram College and I did my BCom honors. From there, I straight away got recruited into being, I got into actuarial sciences, which is a stats and math-based field completely. But I was always dancing alongside. It was always my passion. But yeah, if you ask me that I would take it up as a profession, I would say no, because I was quite a risk-averse person. Right. I still feel I am. Sometimes those leap of faiths happen, and then you manage to do something. But yeah, never thought that I would take up dance and healing as a profession. It was always something that was just I was fond of it, and I would do it. But yeah, you're right. I didn't think of it.
So other than dance, did you have any other hobbies while you were growing up in your school?
I think I was quite into swimming. I was overall quite a nautanki. So I would do a lot of bit of like fancy dress competitions, but yeah, mostly dancing, swimming. I would enjoy quite a bit of reading at that time also. That was something that was very interesting. Now it's turned into research online, but yeah, it is. So yeah, mostly like a person who would keep doing these things to improve herself.
Okay. So tell me one thing, who all are there in your family from the siblings perspective?
So I have a younger brother. My real brother is younger to me. He's 6 years younger to me, in fact, and he's in New York at this moment.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have my father, my mother, and lots of cousins, of course, but this is the immediate family.
Right.
Now I have a husband.
So anybody in your family while growing up, from your parents or from your siblings, was there anybody who influenced you because of which you got passionate about dancing?
I wouldn't say anyone influenced me to get into dancing, but I have always been influenced by the women in my family. Just generally, the women in my family are very strong, very headstrong. I've seen them adjust and not, I wouldn't say sacrifice and stuff, but adjust and make the most out of their lives. Like I've seen my mom being an entrepreneur for 2-3 ventures. I've seen my Masi also like never give up for so many things in life. My grandmom. So I think I've had women who are very inspiring generally in the way they do things and they live their life, which always gave me the guts and courage to say that, okay, I can. There isn't anything that you can't move past. And I think that really helped me to make a lot of decisions in my life.
That's good. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, I'm assuming your schooling was between Mumbai and Delhi. That's how your schooling was done. So after schooling, let's move on to your college life. Where did you? So after you got your 10th grade, that's how it works in India. So I'm assuming for you also, it's the same thing. That 10th grade is where the schooling ends, and then you have junior college to say. Because over here in the US, there is no junior college. It's all up to
But in Delhi also, there is no junior college. So my 11th and 12th class happened in school itself in Delhi.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And then I got into college. I got into Lady Shri Ram College in Delhi itself, where I pursued my BCom honors. And there, actually, for the first time, I got into a formal setup. I got chosen for the dance society of the college, and we went for competitions. And I actually danced with a team. And alongside, I was also instructing in another dance institute with my college work. So college was very exciting. Because I did a lot of I wasn't only doing classes, but a lot more dancing. And I think that was the first time in my 3rd year of college that I even ventured into healing. And I got into that for the first time when I was, I think, 18 or 19. So,
okay. So as a geek, did it not ever occur to you that after 12th, it has to be either a doctor or an engineer, which is very, very common in India?
You know, my dad is an engineer, and I remember telling him when I took up commerce in class 11th and 12th, and I said, मैं engineer नहीं बनूंगी. I can't be an engineer. I'm not based. He was a little disappointed, but I guess my brother made up for it because he is an engineer. But I was always anyway more keen on the accounting, the commerce, the business side of things. So I think I was one of those who would aspire to do an MBA. So सोचा था कि MBA करेंगे, but I think life had different plans. And from college itself, when I got recruited into something which was more analytical and more statistical and more mathematical, I took that up, and I was with that for about 7 years after my college as well.
Okay. So when you were at Shri Ram College, anything particular that you remember from your college life which has still stayed in your head and you would like to share with us?
I think, just this experience of being in the dance society and working with so many other girls towards a common goal, I think it just brought us a lot closer, and I understood the power of having a common vision, a common goal to work towards, because I think that carries a lot of strength. You know, a lot of conflicts happen generally, but if you have your vision clear and what's together you all can do, I think a lot of things get sorted and things just move beautifully. So I think that's something that I took from LSR quite a bit, thanks to my dance society and the way teamwork just presented itself.
Right. So did this dance society happen by itself, or you registered for it and then you got selected? What was the process around being part of the dance society?
So basically in the first year itself, they announced auditions. So I signed up for the audition and I went for the audition and I got selected basically. And I was with the society for the first year, second year and third year. All my 3 years I was in the dance society.
So this society is only for the students at LSR, or okay. So
each college has its own team basically. And then there are inter-college competitions and you meet. There are different college fests and you go there, you compete, you dance, like your team performs. So that's how we would proceed.
So as you mentioned that you could have been a good MBA candidate because you liked that part, like you liked finance, and that's why you were registered with BCom at LSR. Yeah. So at what point did you realize that nahi yaar MBA nahi karna hai, kuch aur karte hain? When did that happen?
Honestly, Ashish, I'm someone, when I look back at my life now, I'm someone who I've realized that life works better for me when I don't end up taking decisions. It just happens and it just flows and I flow with it, and then it just reveals itself very beautifully. So I think that's what happened, because I never decided not to do an MBA. मैंने MBA भी दिया था, and then I got recruited from college itself into a very, very prestigious and very good company. And in fact, I just went for the interview SE, like maze mein. Again, I wasn't even looking to do it seriously, because I was like, हाँ मुझे तो MBA करना है. And they called me and they said that we think you're a good candidate. You'll be the only one from commerce who'll be joining in for this batch, because rest everyone is math honors or stats honors. You're the only BCom honors, but we feel you will be a good fit. And I was like, okay, so let's try it. So, and I went ahead and I got into a consulting role into actuarial science, and there was no looking back. And I'm actually glad I did that, because that is a very, very good profession to be in. People seek it big time, because it's one of the most highest paying jobs, professions, and also very nuanced and detailed in the work we do. So, but yeah, if you ask me when I took a decision, I don't.
You never took a decision. Okay, so tell us a little bit about this work experience that you were talking about, that it is unique. And so how is it unique? What is different about it? Can you give us a little brief description?
So basically, actuarial science is something. You're trying to make financial sense or sense of the future, your future risks, basically. Now, that's why actuarial in India, mostly it's right now insurance, more insurance based. So insurance companies use it, life insurance, non-life insurance. We have health insurance. All of these, when you're pricing the products, how much premium to charge, what is the probability of death, survival, falling sick, all those calculations that go behind an insurance company, that's done by the actuaries, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is what it is. It's basically a form of understanding risk and trying to give numbers to some future permutations, combinations, probabilities, and things like that. So that's what I was doing. I was first in a company called Watson Wyatt, which is now Tars Watson, and then I moved to Bombay and I went into the insurance side, and I went into HDFC Life.
Okay.
So I worked.
Okay, so with the first company that you started with, that was in Delhi, correct?
Yes, that was in Delhi, correct.
Okay, and you were with them for how many years?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Okay, so after 3.5 years, did your family move to Bombay, or it was just because of the job you moved to Bombay?
And because of the job, I moved to Bombay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I took up this job, and actually at that time was the time when I was looking for something a little more part-time. And in India, I mean, as you would know, the culture for part-time isn't much, because there are enough people who want to work full-time and also slog for 12 hours. So I was looking for something where I could also pursue my dance and be an actuarial consultant or an analyst. And that's the idea with which I thought I'll move to Bombay. And when I gave the interview, initially they said, we can't look at this as a part-time thing. We'll consider it after a year. So I was like, okay, at least it's a new city. I can move. I don't have any qualms in moving. And Mumbai was a familiar city because I've grown up there. Mm-hmm. So that's how I took a leap. And sure enough, after a year and a half, my boss did allow me to do a part-time. And for the next year and a half, I was in a space where I was working for 15 days in a month. And 15 days, I was completely freelancing as a dancer, choreographer, and a mover.
So did this thought of working part-time and giving your time for dance came up after you have spent like 3.5 years at your first company, or was that always in your mind right from completing your BCom, that whatever job I get, I'll try to make sure that I have some time for continuing with my passion? At what point did you decide?
Yeah, no. So I was always continuing with my passion, even with my job, in the sense that my job, I was one of the few people who would leave at 6 p.m. sharp, because 7 to 10 p.m. I would have my dance classes at night. Yeah, and even before work, I would be taking a dance class or something. So my day was generally, has always been like a 12-hour day. I've never had 8-hour days. I think I was always dancing alongside, but yeah, somewhere after the job, like within the first job, I realized that I want to spend a little more time trying to understand how much more I can do as a dancer. Can I train myself more? Can my body respond in a better manner? All those questions started coming up, and for that I realized I need more time, because how much can I push myself in one day? That's when the want to take up a part-time started coming through.
Okay, so you moved to Bombay and you started working with HDFC. At what point did your boss feel कि नहीं यार इसको part time करने देते हैं? When did that happen?
To be very honest, it was I was actually thinking of putting down my papers, and I was like, ये नहीं होगा अभी. कोशिश कर लेती हूँ to do it to do my dancing full time. So that's when I reached out to my boss, and he said, why? Let's consider doing a part-time consultancy and see how that works, and we'll take it from there. So
Okay.
yeah,
So
again, like I said, वो decision जो मैं लेती हूँ वो कभी होता है.
Okay. So, but you were very clear that if that request was not accepted, you would have you have taken that leap of continuing with your dance as a full-time profession.
Yeah, I think I would have. that
Okay.
time.
So you continue with a part-time job and dancing. At what point, again, you came back and you said that, okay, enough is enough. I just need to be doing what I love the most.
So the move to completely move into dancing was influenced by one of my friends who reached out to me and said that let's start a venture in Bangalore together, because I feel Bangalore is a good market and we can, both of us together can do a lot and those kind of things. And that's what propelled me to maybe think about it and take a complete leap. So we started making a business plan and all those kind of things. And I was like, okay, let's try it, because I don't have too much to lose. If it doesn't work, then after 1 year, 2 years, I'll go back. I'll have to start a little from scratch, I agree, but I'll do it. So that's when I decided to then leave the job completely, and I moved to Bangalore with the intention of starting this venture full-time with my friend.
So you were in Bombay, and this discussion with your friend happened while you were in Bombay, but you were talking about starting in Bangalore.
Yes. She
which
was in
you
that.
Yeah, exactly. But you have never lived in Bangalore, correct? This was the first time that you were going to do this.
Yeah.
So what made you take that decision, going to a city which you have never lived in, and continuing with something that you love the most? You are very passionate about it, but then you don't have a job. I mean, it's basically what I'm trying to say is it's a risk. How did you calculate that risk?
I think now, as I'm talking to you, I realize that I may not be as risk averse as I think I am.
I was coming to that point. You yourself got it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I am someone who takes risks for the big things in life, and the small things I'll be like, oh shit, nahi. So yeah, because honestly, I've never had qualms moving cities or packing my bags and like, chalo, let's try something. Like, it's, yeah, that way I'm pretty I think open to doing new things and trying new things. That's what actually has kept me learning and constantly, even in my dance forms, like I think I'm one of the few people who likes to explore different dance forms. I've done different things out of my own curiosity, and I'm like, acha, now let's see this also. So I think that curiosity is what has kept me going completely.
Oh, okay. So this is what happens. You move to Bangalore. Now, before I get to Bangalore, did you have a specific guru from whom you learned all the different dance forms, or it was just by yourself?
No, lots of different gurus. I have a lot of different gurus under which I learned different dance forms. I had my Kathak training from Rachna Yadav. I started training into Indian contemporary with Anamika Singh. Then I also learned under Santosh Naik for a bit. In Bombay, I was under Terence for a bit. I went to South Korea for my training. I went to New York for my training. I learned under David. So I have a lot of different teachers I've trained under because they're different styles. I've trained with Lamia Barbara. I've trained with Sana for belly. So yeah, a lot of different forms which I took from different teachers, of course. And then yes, my own, I think, have been a little blessed to be slightly creatively inspired, at least in the dance form and nothing else but that. So it was also my own then, my research, what works, what could I have done differently, what can I bring to the table into my body and my students. And that's how my journey with dance evolved.
So I can understand that one of the purpose behind going through these different forms of dance was just to understand how is it different, correct? But was there any purpose? Were you trying to look for that one particular form that you will get passionate about and then continue with that? What was the purpose behind learning all these different dances?
So, to be very honest, I have always felt, and that's what actually got me into healing, that we all have a lot of sides, a lot of facets in us. We have anger, we have frustration, we have love, we have happiness, we have so many things that are going on in our space. And very often we don't have a constructive channel to put them through. And that's why we end up doing destructive things like, getting angry at other people, or like shouting, throwing things, or getting into depression and stuff like that. So for me, I think dance became a beautiful medium where I could express parts of me which I wouldn't on a day-to-day basis.
I see.
And that is what kept me exploring in different dance forms, for different styles of movement, for different kinds of music that moved me. And I was always, and I think I still am, because your expression changes, your journey changes, so your movement changes, your music changes. And so I wasn't really looking for that one form ever. I think I like the fact that I can switch between these forms to find it depending on my mood or depending on what I want to convey.
That is amazing.
Yeah, so I think that's what dance has been for me.
Okay, so let's come back to you moving to Bangalore. So you come to Bangalore and you start your journey of jumping into this decision of making dance full-time profession. And you start with your friend, okay, in Bangalore. How was that journey initially when you started with it? What were the difficulties that you had to face starting something completely new with a partner? How was that?
So I think yes, it was usually what most business people go through. One is the surety of income completely goes away. You have no stability, and you are constantly investing and reinvesting in the business itself to keep it going. Constantly thinking of new things to do. You now have people working for you, with you. So just keeping them happy and keeping everything flowing. So yeah, there were quite a few challenges, but I think we took it on in our stride. It was a good journey which lasted for about 3 years, and then over time the partnership itself fell apart. And then now I started my own venture called Dhuri, which is on my own, which is now still going on for another 3 years.
Yeah, so I was about to come to Dhuri, but before Dhuri, the 3 years that you spent with your partner on this journey, were you focusing on a specific dance form to teach, or were you again open with your students that you can come here, we can teach you all forms of dance?
So we would obviously, like in all dance classes, we offer different styles of dance classes, and we would accordingly have the teachers. So for instance, you would more focus on contemporary and yoga, and I would be doing more Indian contemporary and maybe like belly dancing, a little more Latin. So we would take up different dance forms, and that's how we spread the classes across the week and across the days. And then we would also offer certified courses specialized in one particular form. So there were all sorts of options that were possible in that setup.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this whole thing, at what point did it happen? When I say it, I mean marriage.
Marriage? Marriage happened much later.
Oh, much later. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then hold on to that one. We will get to that because I want to make it a flow of your journey. Yeah. So let's get.
My first 2 years was 2014 to 17. Was with in partnership with my best friend, who's now not so much of a best friend, but we are now civil in terms of okay. So that was one venture, and then 2017 I started my second venture on my own, which is Dhuri and Connect with Ru.
Okay. Now, without getting into details, is it something that you can share with our audience on what went wrong with your partner? You can say no. I'm perfectly fine with
No,
that.
no. I mean, see, I mean, I think now both of us realize it at some point that it's very difficult to run a venture when there are two leaders who are as fiery and as opinionated and as strong-headed as the both of us were or are. I mean, we've also simmered down over time, and it's very difficult to understand that one always should be okay to take a little bit of a back seat for something, and then the other one. That play doesn't always work, and especially I feel more in the creative field, because in creative fields no one is right or wrong. It's your own creativity, it's your own aesthetic, it belongs to you. So just trying to understand the right wrong, who's right, who could be wrong, it's a futile effort. And I think we try to do that, but then it was sabotaging our friendship quite a bit. And that's when I think I realized that ye agar aur chala to there is no salary.
Because my next question was exactly that did you at any point feel that because of your passion you might be losing your best friend?
Yeah. So I did lose her. She lost me, I lost her. We're not best friends anymore.
Does that ever bother you?
Of course it does. Yeah. I mean, somewhere, because I think I realized that this friendship won't last if we continue this venture any longer. And it was me actually who'd wanted to say that, okay, let's shut this, let's go our own ways. But I think that was misconstrued in a manner, and then misunderstandings happened. Her family got involved, and then it was actually quite an ugly scene, to be honest. The parting didn't happen in a very good manner, but I think now, after 3 years of that also, we managed to get to a space where we are both civil. We understand that we both made our mistakes. And we both have our own respective ventures now. So
good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So any advice you would like to give to people like you who are dreaming of going into the same venture? What advice would you give them? Would you tell them that don't have a partner, or what would you say?
No, I have realized one thing, and that's just from my experience. It's that one should really avoid to mix your personal and professional space.
I agree.
Boundaries are good. Or if you are getting into personal and professional space, then make sure your roles are so clear and so separate that you both can, or everyone, whoever is in it, can express themselves freely in what they are heading, and have a veto. Have that this sphere I command. So if I call something, then you don't interfere. And then in this sphere I command, if I say something, you don't say anything. I think that separation and that boundary is very important. When we start off as friends, or even like maybe a husband, wife, or even siblings for that matter, we're like, ho jayega, hum to kar lenge, we will figure it out. But people are very different when they're working, and we are very different when we are in the friends space, we are chilling, and when we are very different when we are with family. And there's nothing wrong. We have to have these different roles to be able to carry that particular aspect of our life forward. But so realizing that a person can be different in workspace and can be different in personal space.
Right.
So let's not think that it's going to. Yeah. So I think that would be something that I have personally felt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, it takes a courage to share that with everybody. So after 3 years, Dhuri happens. Why the word Dhuri? Where did that come from?
So actually, the word Dhuri was suggested by my Masi. She sent me. We were just looking for names and stuff. And one fine morning, I had a WhatsApp from her. How about Dhuri? I'm like, what does that mean? So she said it means axis. It means the center, like the axis around which things revolve or center towards or gravitate towards. So when I heard the meaning, I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense, because I ultimately wanted a platform where everyone could just gravitate towards, to find themselves, to find their own axis, and to find their own center. That's always been my quest, to create a platform like that, whether you want to do it through dance, fitness, wellness, healing, doesn't matter. And so that's how the name Dhuri just made a lot of sense to me. And yeah. I said yes to that.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So you start Dhuri and you start again teaching different forms of dance. What forms of dance do you train? I'm pretty sure that you have other teachers who teach different forms of dance,
Right.
right? What do you specialize? I mean, what do you prefer teaching your students?
So I think my first love for teaching is contemporary, like hardcore contemporary, which is flow work, flying low, release, technique, all of that. And I also really love taking Indian contemporary and Indian fusion styles. So I fuse Kathak, Chow with contemporary. I do semi-classical work because I'm also a Kathak dancer. So those two forms I really, really enjoy, and I've been teaching them for very, very long. Belly dance also I've been teaching, and of late my teaching in that has also increased. In fact, in the lockdown it's increased quite a bit. But belly dance is always something I would enjoy dancing more to, because it was something that felt very nice in the body. But I realized that teaching belly dance has also been extremely
Different.
fruitful and very beautiful. Yeah. So I think these three forms is primarily what I teach.
Okay. So when you do these forms, like the kind of students you get, now this might be something very tricky question. When you get students who register that, okay, I want to learn this particular form of dance or this particular form of dance, and you start the teaching. Sometimes right in the very first training what you will have to go through as a teacher for teaching a dance to a particular student, right? Has it ever happened to you where you have looked at the student and you have said that, okay, I think you should try something else instead of, because it does happen, like I might be very passionate about dancing, but not knowing my potential. I might be passionate about it. वो कहते हैं ना कि लचक होनी चाहिए बॉडी में. अगर लचक नहीं है तो बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है, right? So if you come across that situation, how do you handle that?
To be very honest, Ashish, I don't think I've ever in my life so far told anyone that you are not meant for this style.
Nice. Okay.
नहीं करा है आज तक. Again, because my thinking and the way I approach dance is very different. I don't feel कि एक किस्म का वो होना चाहिए body में. In fact, I feel anybody can dance. I am making you dance so you can express yourself, your story. तो उसमें गलत क्या है?
Right.
So that's what I believe in. And if you are feeling good about yourself when you are moving, as a teacher, of course, I have the job of correcting you, and I have a job of telling you that this is what you can aspire to do better.
Right.
But I am no one to tell you whether your body is meant for this or no, because the body is capable of so much once we stop talking to ourselves in a limited manner. कि हम ये कर सकते हैं और ये नहीं कर सकते हैं.
Right.
Like I was always told that my body is not meant for belly dance because I'm very narrow. My hips are narrow. They're not like, I don't have a typical belly dance body, to be honest. And I agree. But then I found my way of belly dancing. And in fact, this limitation in the body helped me discover so many ways of doing that steps. And I can teach that to my students who don't get it.
Wow.
Now, because I went through that hurdle myself in discovering that in my body. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So Dhuri is going well and you are enjoying your dance classes. At what point connect with Roo happened? What is that?
Well, actually, we'll have to rewind a little bit because my healing journey.
Perfectly fine. Yeah.
So my healing journey also started when I was in Lady Shri Ram College itself. I got I got into healing very young in age. I got into it when I was about 19 years old. And I think most people are like, would ask me, kya hua tha? Like, what happened? Did some trauma come through? Did something happen? But again, like I say for anything, it was sheer curiosity. My dance teacher at that time, Miss Anamika Singh, was pursuing some course in healing. She was pursuing hypnotherapy, and she would come and talk to us about it. And I was like, well, this is very fascinating. I also want to learn. I want to explore this. And that's how I started my journey. And there was no looking back. Because I realized the one thing that I wanted to do in life, and it's always been that, is to reach out to people, understand them, help them find themselves a little more. and combination of dance and healing just made perfect sense, because I started understanding that the mind has so many stories, so many associations, so many ways we talk to ourselves, think about people, and we don't even realize that that very thought is affecting the way I move, is affecting the way I am at my work, is affecting the way I talk to my my child, my friend, and the ripple effect of my reality opens out through that one thought that started off.
Right.
So that's where my journey to understand the subconscious mind and how the thoughts work, how we folder it. And then I was blessed with some very, very beautiful mentors, one of whom I'm still very, very closely associated with, Atman, who's the founder of Radical Healing. And I took my healing journey ahead from there. And I think for the past 8 to 9 years, I've been a facilitator, trainer, and healer in these modalities that I pursue now full time.
Okay. So Connect with Ruh is part of Radical Healing.
So Connect with Ruh is the healing side of my life. I basically decided that over time that I will keep the two entities slightly separate, because it tends to confuse people, and it's understandable. It doesn't confuse me, but I think people like to see it as two different platforms. So I created a separate platform for healing and empowerment and reaching out to people, whether it is creating a safe space where people can share, come for sessions. We do different kinds of workshops, like, understanding different emotions, understanding the yin and yang, doing radical healing. We do radical courses, workshops. I meet my groups for regular weekly group healings, where we do recitations and affirmations for not only ourselves, but overall collective consciousness, to improve the frequency, the vibration, and more for like peace, harmony, love, faith, all those kind of things. So radical healing is one of the major modalities that I work with. But I also do a little bit of movement healing. I do some kind of like yoga stretches with radical affirmations. It's called radical yoga. I do a little bit of hypnotherapy. So all those healing modalities put together gave rise to Connect with Ruh.
Acha, I see. So tell us one thing. What is the biggest challenge in everything that you do? At what point you feel that, "Arey yaar, zyada ho raha hai"? Does that ever happen, first of all?
Yeah. I mean, to be very honest, like in this pandemic, it did happen, because to be very candid and honest, I'm working so much more than I was before the pandemic, because I think the healing work and overall things, people need it, and I like to be there. So kabhi kabhar lagta hai ki I wish I was taking back home as much in terms of my finances as I am putting in, because what happens with a venture when you have your own business is that there is so much to feed to that venture itself, like salaries to pay, rents to pay. There's very little like you personally, individually take back home. Right. So wo kabhi hota hai, I'm just like, gosh, like, like I would, I'm spending 12 hours and I should be making this much, but I take back home like hardly anything or whatever. So that thought comes kabhi, but not too much, because I see that at least the ball is rolling in this difficult time when so many spaces had to shut down. At least right now we're sustaining ourselves just about, but we are. So it comes at a small price. It comes also at a price that now I have a husband who is supporting me personally, because मैं personally अपने लिए कुछ नहीं कर पा रही हूँ. I'm taking care of my ventures and he takes care of me.
So now can we talk about your marriage? Is it that point?
Yes, I think we've come to year 2019.
Okay. Oh, so you got married last year. Okay.
Just last year, yeah.
So tell us, if you can share, how did it happen, and how does he support you in your vision, in your passion?
So we met, actually we had a relatively short courting period. We met only in 2017, but I think the phase of life that both of us were in, we both kind of realized that this is good, this is it. We are very good together, and we still feel so, touch wood. So that's when we decided that, okay, I mean, because both of us were quite old by Indian standards. Usually a girl by 25, 26, 27, latest, like it's the alarm bells are ringing. But I was 32 when I finally tied the knot, and he's even
Oh my
older than
God.
me.
You just told your age on the public platform.
Yeah, everyone knows.
Just
Yeah,
kidding.
that's right. No, it's okay. I have no qualms in sharing my
Okay.
age. So yeah, so I got both of us were quite like we actually thought ki both marriage is not for either of us. But then we met each other and we were like, no, this works because somewhere both of us understood each other very well. And like you just asked me that how does he support me? I think he supports me in everything and anything that I do, and I think that has been my biggest validation that he's a godsend, because I have a very strange lifestyle, so to say. I'm not that typical. I can't, because my hours of work get done by 10.
Right.
There are times I come just in time to eat and sleep because I have a 6 o'clock class in the morning. So I have crazy schedules, and so does he. And I don't think there's ever been a complaint from him, because he sees the work I do and the reach and the impact of the work I do, and he's always been so supportive. In fact, he's also an excellent cook. He's so much better in kitchen than I am. So it's just, yeah, I think it's been a very interesting journey, because he's very supportive, and he doesn't ever, even when some days I feel guilty and I come up to him and I say, I'm so sorry, I don't take care of you, he's like, why do you have to take care of me? Like, can I not do that myself? Like, what the hell? So, and that's a very nice, yeah, both of us are very independent. And yet at the
Definitely.
same time, we know where we help and support each other, which is
That's
beautiful.
awesome. That's awesome. So, do you see any challenges going forward though? Like, do you plan on having a family, kids, and everything? If you do, then how are you going to manage? I mean, have you thought about it?
I mean, right now we're thinking of keeping a dog first, just as a trial run.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe at some point, yes, of course, would want to have a family. I do understand that my work is such, especially the dance part of things, which will take a slight halt if I decide to do that. And does it scare me? Yes, a little bit, because I don't know how my body will be post it. But I also have an overall faith that there is much more to life than to just cling on to one aspect of your life. And if it is time to move into this next phase, and again, it'll just happen, and something will open up. Maybe my healing work will pick up. Maybe I'll find a different way of dancing if there is some limitation in the body that comes through. So kuch na kuch ho jayega. But at the moment, like immediately, not planning a family, because it's hardly been any years since we've gotten married and the pandemic happened. So we haven't even, like, one thing that both of us wanted to do was travel, and that's completely shut down.
Shut up. Yeah, no, I can. It is very, very difficult times that everyone is going through right now.
Yeah, I think
So,
it's been quite a learning for everyone. And
yeah, it has
yeah.
been. So, what plans or what dreams do you have for future as far as Dhuri is concerned and as far as the healing is concerned? What do you dream about?
When it comes to Dhuri, I think I want to reach out to a lot more art forms, like not just dancing. I would like to also embrace and bring into the space more theater, more improv work, maybe even just exhibitions and things. So I want to use the space a lot more I want it to be a little more open than what it already is. And of course, with respect to me, I want to keep training a little more in dance and help people discover the joy of dance. Like, I think that would be my main aim with Dhuri.
Okay.
Connect with you, as me and my team always keep discussing, I think we really now want to start going international,
Oh,
because
wow. Okay.
because I just feel that in at least in Bangalore, people like know me. They do reach out, and we have created a slight safe space, not too big. We're still trying, but I feel that there is a larger audience that needs this work, This work is not only sacred, it's super effective. And I just want to now work towards expanding the horizons of this work, reaching
That's
out to
nice.
more.
That's nice. And how are you planning on doing that? Like, how would you sell yourself saying that this is why you should come to us and this is why we are different?
I am the worst seller of myself. I know that. My marketing skills are zero to negative sometimes. I have always just gotten or received people through one thing, and that is through my work.
Oh, awesome.
If someone comes to me, they more often than not realize that it's genuine and it is what it is. There is no faffing, there is no unnecessary making you promises which I won't be able to keep. And I have managed to, touch wood, I think, deliver to it as much as possible as masters have allowed. And that's what has spoken for my or helped me grow whatever I have. But you're right, what is the plan ahead? I actually don't know, because I don't know how I'm going to market myself to reach out to an audience who's never even heard of me.
Right.
So I guess it will reveal itself. It will happen when it has to. I have faith. And I have a beautiful set of people in my life who are also working with me, and they keep sending out ideas, and I'm just like, great, as long as you are with it, I'm okay to go with the flow.
So why going international only with Connect with Ru and not Dhuri?
So with Dhuri also, like, in the sense, I already have a few of my students who join in from different cities and countries to do my classes. So it's already happening. But I also feel that when it comes to dance, there is quite a bit already happening. There are people who've reached out with belly dance, with semi-classical, there's Bollywood and contemporary. Anyway, the West is much ahead than India is evolving towards. So I'm not actively looking at like tapping something there. If people come to me, I'm always most welcome. Like I'd even put out the intent that if I'm meant to start an international batch, if there are people, if there are ladies who are interested, because I feel we all have a certain vibration and we attract a certain kind of student or whatever. So I've always attracted more like the ladies, the girls. They like to work with me because I don't know why, but they do. So I wanted to reach out with a batch like that. But if it's meant to happen, it will. But with Connect with Ru, why I feel it is because it's the need of the hour. I really feel that all of us need to understand ourselves better, make peace with our inner space so much more, including our dark side, our light side, our shadow self, all of that. Because especially this lockdown or this pandemic has been the biggest example of that. I think this is what we needed to take out time for ourselves. So, which is why the urgency to do that slightly faster, maybe. That's
right. So we are almost coming to the end of our show. Before we end, anything specific that I might have missed and you would like to share with our audience?
No, I think you've been very, very thorough and very like you actually got out like things out of me which I didn't even know I wanted to talk about. So
okay, all right. So now, if people want to reach out to you from anywhere in the world, now, how can they reach out to you?
Well, I can give you my email ID. I have an Instagram handle. I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
Yes.
So here is what I would suggest. Like, this video is going to stay on our website and on our Facebook channel. And if you can just put in the comments, if you can put all the information for, not right now, like after the show, that is fine as well. So that anytime any person who comes to watch this video, they can see the comments, and within the comments, they can see how to reach to you and how to connect with you, basically. So you can easily do that. Okay.
Definitely. Yes.
All right. I mean, thank you, Asta, for sharing everything that I posed in front of you. A couple of questions might be, as you said, the way this works is like I understand your answers, and based on those, I usually ask questions. So it has been a wonderful discussion definitely enjoyed it a lot, and I'm pretty sure our listeners and our viewers would have enjoyed it as well. In fact, they will continue enjoying it because this discussion is there on our website and on our Facebook page. So with that, I would like to end this show. Thank you very much, Asta, for coming on our
Thank you.
show. You have a wonderful weekend. Well, actually, your weekend is ending today. Sorry.
It's over. Yes.
For me, the Sunday, yeah, for me, the Sunday is
Yeah.
still there. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So thank you
No,
very
thank
much,
you so
Asta.
much. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for having me, and thank you everyone for joining in. If you ever
All
need
right.
any more information, I'm always there. So thanks.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Yeah. Bye.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.